So you may have looked at your SSD's health and realised that it's not 100%. You might have looked up your drive's health using Windows, or perhaps the SSD's own software, to see it saying 99% health or maybe even less. And now you're wondering, should I be worried? Does this mean that I will lose my data on my drive or start getting corrupted files? Well, let's look at what under 100% health for an SSD actually means. Most of the time, this percentage is telling you how many more times you can write data to the drive. So what does that mean exactly? Well, each SSD can have a certain number of terabytes written to them before their cells are potentially worn out. Some drives can only have about 80 terabytes written to them, but many SSDs can take about 200 to 600 terabytes before they may be exhausted, while enterprise SSDs can have thousands of terabytes written to them before they need replacing. So for example, if you have an SSD that's rated for 200 terabytes, and over time you've written 50 terabytes to the drive, then you will see 75% remaining. In other words, you can still write 150 terabytes to the drive before it gets to 0%. Some drive monitoring software apps will alert you when the SSD gets as low as 10%. This warning is set up by the manufacturer, so at 90% worn and only 10% left, it is often recommended to change the drive. Of course, you might want to change it before then, just to be on the safe side. So what happens if an SSD reaches 0%? Well, when SSDs are at 0, some of them become read-only drives. In other words, you can't write data to the drive anymore. This would be a problem if the SSD is the main computer's drive and has Windows installed on it, because Windows often needs to write small files to the drive. If Windows cannot write data to the SSD, the computer would likely crash or blue screen in under 1 minute. Also at 0%, the drive is often no longer covered under its warranty. So can a drive still work at 0%? Yes, it can. Some drives can still be written to and read from even at 0%, and some might also continue to work without a problem for a while longer. So under 100%, there's no need to be concerned about your drive. So when exactly should you be concerned? Well, to answer that question, if we take a closer look at this software for Western Digital and SanDisk drives, under drive health it shows 99% and normal. And if I hover over the information, it says that this life remaining percentage represents the remaining writes that the drive can perform during its lifetime, and drive health summarises the current condition of the drive based on smart attributes. Normal equals drive is in normal working order. So 99% suggests that this drive has had a certain number of terabytes written to it, with many more terabytes that can be written to this drive before its cells are exhausted. And the more important part is that it's showing the SSD's health as normal. If it showed warning or critical instead, or something to that effect, then that's when we should be concerned. For another example, if we look at Adata's software for their SSDs, you can see that 13 terabytes has been written to this particular drive, which brings its write percentage down to 99%. But most importantly, it shows that the drive's health is good. And here's another one. This one shows that the drive's estimated life remaining is 100%, but more importantly, it says that the drive is healthy. If you are concerned about your drive's health, you can download software called CrystalDiskInfo, links in the description below. Once you've installed and started CrystalDiskInfo, choose the drive you want to look at near the top if you have multiple drives. And if you see all blue dots here, then your drive is okay to use. If you see a yellow dot anywhere here, this may be a concern. And a red dot means that your drive has a critical problem. And near the top, hopefully it says health status is good, to go along with all blue dots below. So health shown as a percentage is usually just telling you approximately how much has been written to the drive over time. As long as the percentage isn't too low and your drive's health is described as good, normal or healthy, then there's no need to worry about the state of your SSD. Just a quick reminder that any drive can fail at any time without any warning. So if you have important data, a backup is always the safest bet. Having said that, software showing you the health status of your drive is usually a good indicator of how much longer your SSD will last. Well, I hope you found this video helpful. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.